you know, our Congress likes to make an emergency out of everything. So they let everything go to the very last minute, and the government was going to shut down unless that budget went through. And good lobbyists never let a crisis go to waste. So what happened was, in the midst of that must-pass budget bill, Monsanto and their friends got what was known inside the Beltway as the biotech rider attached to the budget bill, what activists came to call the Monsanto Protection Act. And what that rider said was that in a lawsuit where an advocacy organization, like I said before, there's a couple legal battles going on right now over GMO sugar beets and GMO alfalfa. Just back up and explain how this works. So the biotech industry has to actually get USDA approval before they can plant a GMO crop, okay? There has to be certain steps that USDA goes through to ensure the safety of those crops for the environment. There's no safety requirements, by the way, for human safety, okay? The FDA does nothing to ensure the safety of GMO food. However, the USDA does have certain requirements for ensuring the safety of the environment when it comes to planting new GMO crops. Okay, so in several cases, Monsanto and other members of the biotech community have gotten stopped in court because the USDA didn't do its job. So, you know, biotech industry doesn't like that. So they essentially got an end run put into law that says the next time a court tells the USDA, you didn't make that decision properly, you needed to do a more thorough review, the USDA is required to ignore that court ruling. That's actually what this biotech rider accomplishes. In other words, you know, so the article I wrote about it, just to really flesh this out a little bit more, was called How Monsanto Teamed Up with Congress to Shred the Constitution. Okay, and if you've learned anything about how our government works, you might remember that there are three sectors of our government, right? The judicial branch, the executive branch, and the legislative branch. Separation of powers is a pretty key concept in our Constitution in order to allow for checks and balances. So in other words, if the executive branch, in this case the USDA, an agency under the executive branch, makes it the wrong decision, the judicial branch steps in and says, you did it wrong, go back to the drawing board, redo. Okay, what this new law says is USDA gets to ignore that and is required to allow the planting of these crops to go forward. I mean, that's why this is such a big deal.